With the release of iOS 16.2 comes the proper release of external monitor support on iPads. Now, one of the main downsides of this release is that the support is only for M1 and M2 processor iPads. Therefore, the new 2023 iPad 10, even though it was changed over to USB-C, even for the older Air models, before the latest release that brought them to the M1, do not have the ability unlocked. So 2021 and 2023 Pro models, 2022 Air, and the latest Mini are the only models that will support the external monitor in the beginning. We will just have to wait and see if Apple decides to bring the support to all USB-C models, or wait till all iPads are moved over to the M line of processors. Now, with the external monitor plugged in, you cannot control the screen via touch, and there is no controller that is able to pop up and control the display. So a mouse and keyboard are required, whether that be the Magic Keyboard or any Apple Bluetooth accessory that you choose. Like in my case, you can connect to just about any Bluetooth keyboard and mouse and use that going forward. Myself, I like to go between the iPad's Magic Keyboard and the Logitech MX keyboard and MX mouse. Both the MX keys and the MX mouse support multiple devices. So when I originally synced them to the iPad, I chose Profile 3 on both the mouse and keyboard. So to switch to the iPad, I just choose Profile 3, and both the mouse and keyboard are connected, and away we go. If your monitor has USB ports built into the display, USB Passthrough is supported. So if you have a wired keyboard and mouse plugged into one monitor and a USB-C cable out that goes into the iPad, that keyboard and mouse will work. Nice to see that Apple did not cut corners on this, and external USB support is allowed. Now, when using the external monitor, your options for changing windows are in two places. The first place is at the top of the window. You will see a 3-dot menu which allows you to click, and you will see a drop-down menu which allows you to either go full screen, move to either display, being the iPad or the external, move to split, which moves the window over and creates that split viewing for two apps, or the other option for changing the windows is in the bottom right corner. Now, when plugging the iPad into an external monitor, Stage Manager is automatically enabled on the external display. This allows you to multitask or have multiple apps running on one screen. It is really only usable to use two at one time, as a third app really just crowds things, but you can have multiple groupings or desktops similar to what desktop operating systems use. But you can also have a full screen app on one display and multiple apps open on another. So I like to have my notes, lists, or to-dos on the iPad, while on the main screen I am either writing scripts, doing research, or recently I have been editing some videos on DaVinci Resolve. So I can have Resolve open on the main monitor and the Files app open on the iPad. Very similar to a setup that I use on my main desktop. But there is not a lot of different ways to display your apps. Similar to like in Windows with Windows Snap, that if you drag to a side or drag the window to a corner, that app or window will snap to a certain part of the display. This is missing, and I do hope Apple decides to bring this in a future update, as it would improve the way we can utilize the screen space and take full control over our display. As for the downsides of this new external monitor support, one of them is that it only supports one external monitor. So the chance of this replacing a multi-screen desktop or laptop setup is just not there yet. Even using this with an external docking station doesn't allow you to trick the iPad into using multiple monitors, but it does support various resolutions, from 1080p all the way up to 4 or 5K. You are good to go. Myself, I have been using both a 32-inch 1440p monitor and as well a 27-inch 1920 by 1200 monitor, and I do like both, but the bigger display and greater resolution is always better. The second downside of this new feature is the inability to use the iPad in clamshell mode. With my laptop, I have the ability to close the lid and just use a single monitor for viewing. But when locking the iPad with either the lock button or a magnetic case, both the iPad and the external monitor go to sleep. It's very unfortunate. If you are in a tight space where you only have room for a single monitor and a keyboard on a desk, or if you just want to plug the iPad in and tuck it away for it to charge, just having the single monitor, I really hope Apple will allow this mode in another future update. And now that I think of it, there is a third downside, but Apple can very easily change this with a software update. When plugging in an external monitor, the default speakers is automatically changed over to the external monitor, with no option to change it back to the iPad. Even though the iPad speakers are way better than most monitors out there, the only chance to change the audio away from the external monitor is to use either Bluetooth or an AirPlay supported device like a HomePod or Apple TV. But how you can do this is you open Control Center, dragging down on the top right of your display, tap the AirPlay icon in the top right corner, and it will open that AirPlay audio menu. At first, I was really disappointed that this was the case. Because if I wanted to watch something on one display and do something on another and keep the audio on the iPad itself, I wasn't able to do this. But at least the AirPlay option does work. And the headphones that I use at my desk have the option for Bluetooth, so it ended up to be all good in the end. So that is external monitor support for the iPad. I am glad it is finally here. No longer do we have to work with mirror mode when plugging in an iPad Pro to an external display. I have been using this since 16.2 released, and yes, there has been some hiccups along the way, but the majority of the time, it does work pretty well, and brings the iPad one step closer to be that everyday device for more people than it's not. But it's just not quite there yet. Maybe in a year or two after some iOS updates, we will get there. If you made it to the end of the video, leave a like, as it really helps push these videos to more viewers like you. And subscribe if you're not already. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next week.